Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S6-6038, Francine the Superstar. Chapter 6. At the first rehearsal, the brain handed out costumes for the party. A lot of people worked very hard on these, he said. If there are any problems, let me know. We can make changes if necessary. Everyone took the costumes for the part that had been assigned and began getting dressed. As the narrator, Murphy wore a long dress. This is not in fashion, she complained. It was in 1890, said the brain. And it itches, she added, right in the middle of my back. The brain shrugged. Feel free to scratch. Just do it in a historical way. Binky was twisting his head around in confusion. I like being a powerful engine, he said, but what is this thing I'm dragging behind me? That's a caboose, the brain explained. My what? The last car in the train. Oh, right, said Binky. I knew that. Don't complain, Binky, said Arthur, who was trying to fit the bell of the phonograph over his head. At least you can see where you're going. You'll be fine, Arthur. Brain reassured him. Just bend over a little when you walk. Exactly, said Francine. She was wearing a long frock coat and droopy bow tie, clasping her hand behind her back. She walked back and forth, making an inspection. Straighten those pants. Make sure the stock ticker tape goes right down the middle. Bend over when... No. Mr. Rappin came running over. What's the problem, Francine? Look at Sue Ellen. She's supposed to be a kinetoscope. But look, she pulled open the side of Sue Ellen's costume, revealing a mesh of gears. Those are the proper gears, said Mr. Rappin. They even have the right number of teeth. True, said Francine, but what are the teeth supposed to fit into? Sue Ellen's film has no sprocket holes. How can the pull-down claw move the film without a sprocket hole? The audience will laugh at Sue Ellen whenever she comes on stage. They will, said Sue Ellen, turning to Mr. Rappin. I don't want people laughing at me. Hold on, said Mr. Francine. You're talking about something inside her costume. The audience will never see it. Francine did not look convinced. That's not a good excuse, she insisted. Attention to detail was an Edison hallmark. Are we honoring his memory or not? Mr. Rappin sighed. Very well, Mr. Edison. Come with me, Sue Ellen. We'll make some sprocket holes. Francine finished up her inspection in front of Buster, who stood up straight at attention. What are you? She asked. I'm a light bulb, he said, tapping the clear bubble on his head. Actually, they were called incandescent lamps at the time, but I'm talking about these. She poked the fingers at the openings in front of his mouth. Those are so he can breathe, said the brain. I understand, but air holes in an incandescent lamp? They're just supposed to be a vacuum inside. If there were air holes, brain, the light wouldn't work. Yes, but Francine looked him in the face. First, there were no holes where there should be some, and now there are holes where there shouldn't be any. Francine glared at the brain. Are you trying to ruin this play? Of course not, said the brain. A big shit, when she shouted. She stomped away in a huff. Chapter 7. Secret meeting at the Sugar Bowl started right after school. Everyone took a last suspicious look around before settling into a seat. You're sure this is safe? Squeaked Buster. Maybe I should act as lookout. He was sitting closest to the window. The others in the booth were Arthur, Binky, Murphy, Prunella, and the brain. Don't worry, said the brain. Francine will be busy for some time with Mr. Rappin. Arthur shuddered. I couldn't believe she corrected him in class today. I mean, who cares if he called the incandescent lamp a light bulb? Little Miss Perfect, that's who. Right now, she's reviewing Mr. Rappin's script to make sure there aren't any other mistakes in it. She's the biggest mistake, said Vicky. All she does is complain. Every time I make train noises, she says, I'm not doing it right. I mean, I want to say, choo, 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 choo. What's wrong with that? But Francine isn't satisfied. She keeps saying I should go, shh, 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 shh. Prunella nodded. When I was painting the scenery yesterday, she came by. The background is too dark. She said I needed to stand out more. Then when I lighted it up, she said it was too light. Just start over, she said, and keep starting over until you get it right. Prunella sighed. I almost dumped a bucket of paint on her hand. If you had, said Arthur, I would have put my phonograph bell on top of it. Then Francine could see what it's like to have to wear it all the time. How come you can't just carry it around for rehearsal? Asked Muffy. Arthur shook his head. I tried that. Do you know what Francine said? Arthur, you must become the phonograph. You're the sound machine. Now do what you're told, or I'll uninvent you. She's way out of control, muttered the brain. Edison was a difficult person to work with, but Francine is impossible. This is our own fault, said Buster. You're the one to ask Mr. Rapon to give her a good part. We felt sorry for her because her other roles have always been such disasters, and now she's the disaster, said Muffy. Everyone nodded. She acts like it is her show, said Prunella. The rest of you are just hired help. Muffy, said Arthur. You are her best friend. Can't you talk to her? Muffy snorted. Of course I could talk to her, but if I were talking to her at all, which I am now, Francis insulted her clothes. Prunella explained. All right, said Arthur. I'll talk to her. I'm sure I can get her to understand. You better make it quick, the brain reminded him. We have a dress rehearsal for the kindergarten class tomorrow morning. Arthur nodded. He didn't have a moment to lose. Chapter 8. Backstage at the school auditorium, Francine and Sue Ellen peeked out at the waiting audience. Look at all those eager faces, said Francine. They must be very excited. I'll bet they can't wait to have a real theatrical experience. But Francine, they are only in kindergarten, Sue Ellen reminded her. I doubt they even. And this could be their first taste of history. We could be inspiring them toward the lifelong quest for Francine. We have a problem. The brain came over with Buster, who was wearing his light bulb costume. Buster's face was red, and he was dripping with sweat. Francine took a closer look. I'll say we do, she agreed. Buster, stop blushing. You're not a red light. You'll confuse the audience. He's not doing it on purpose, the brain pointed out. It is hard for him to breathe. He needs air holes. The Francine patted Buster on the back. No, he doesn't. He knows that would ruin the whole effect, don't you, Buster? Buster frowned. Can't really breathe very well. He panted. You'll do fine, said Francine. The show must go on, and Buster, it may interest you to know that Edison said that inventing was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So just think you're providing perspiration for the whole cast. As Francine started to walk away, Arthur stepped in front of her. Francine, we need to talk. Not now, Arthur. Have you forgotten what is happening? The play is about to begin. I'm busy. Well, get unbusy. This is important. Arthur took a deep breath. I called you 3 times last night, and I know you were home. Your mother said so. Francine folded her arms, and she also told you that I was rehearsing my line. Do you have any idea of the pressure, the responsibility? No, of course you don't. You are only the phonograph. Yes, well, even a phonograph has feelings. Arthur reminded her. Something you seem to have forgotten, Francine. You can't keep doing this. You are treating everyone really badly. Oh, Arthur, don't be silly. I'm only setting a high standard. That helps everyone in the long run. Now, if you will excuse me, I have to. Arthur grabbed her by the shoulder. Look at me, Francine. Read my lips. You have to stop bossing people around. Everyone is really mad at you. They're just jealous because they don't have my talent. Now step aside. She walked away, and this time Arthur didn't follow her. He just stood there in shock while the other kids came out from behind the scenery. Well, it did give her a chance, said Prunella. More than one. Gasped Buster. That's it, said Binky. I'm gonna teach her a lesson. Me too. Me 3. Arthur couldn't argue with them, but he had a bad feeling about this. Chapter 9. As the play began, Muffy stepped out in front of the curtain to address the audience. Good morning, she said. Welcome to a play about Thomas Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park. That's Menlo Park, not Mental Park. Francine hissed from behind the curtain. Muffy ignored her. We hope you enjoy this hysterical presentation, she added, before walking off stage. That historical. Francine hissed again. The curtain then opened, revealing Francine dressed as Thomas Edison. in his lap. She was speaking to several newspaper reporters. It's 1877, said Francine, and I, Thomas Edison, am demonstrating my new invention, the phonograph. It actually reproduces recorded sound. We don't believe it, shouted the reporter. Francine folded her arms, then prepared to be amazed. Francine turned to her phonograph. With the slump to one side, scratching its back, stand up straight, she whispered, turning the crank and putting the tone arm on the cylinder. All operators are busy, said Arthur's voice inside the bell. We are sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. Please hang up and dial again. Arthur, you had a phonograph, not a telephone, Francine whispered. Play the music, but there was no music. If you are calling from a touch-tone phone, press 1 now. Francine frowned. Had Arthur lost his mind? This was not in the script. The audience laughed as the curtain closed on Act 1. The second act began with Francine again facing a room full of reporters. It is 1879, and I, Thomas Edison, am ready to demonstrate my incandescent lamp. It is brighter than any candle, and works through the wonder of electricity. We don't believe it, said the reporter. Prepare to be amazed, said Francine. She pulled the cloth off of Buster in his light bulb costume. However, the light bulb now had a screen door in the front. Your lamp features a screen door, said one of the reporters. How does it work? Francine tried to ignore the question. Just watch, she said, and pulled the switch to light the bulb. A jet of water from the bulb squirted into her face. Now, how could that have happened, said the brain, smiling backstage. In the final act, Francine stood next to Sue Ellen, the movie camera. Now it is time for my kinetoscope to film the great train robbery. I expect that this at least will go smoothly. The Pinky chucked onto the stage, pulling several cardboard train cars. Choo, 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 he shouted, ignoring Francine's glare. Suddenly, some cowboys came up behind him. We're going to rob this here train. He said, no, you're not, said where he wished, preparing the box with them. Put them up, put them up. At this point, all the inventions danced across the stage in a chorus line. Francine tried to escape to the wing, but she was boxed in. As the curtain closed in from both sides, it caught her in the middle, leaving her facing the audience with a horrified expression. Chapter 10. After the performance, Francine sat in a corner backstage. She looked miserable. The other kids were too uncomfortable to approach her. They gathered sheepishly a few feet away. Mr. Rapon came backstage. It looks like we had a few technical difficulties, he said dryly. The cast members looked down at the shoes. Mr. Rapon rubbed his chin. Can we fix them before the parents' show tonight? Murphy looked up. That's up to Francine, she said. Francine jumped up from the corner. Me? What did I do? What did I do? I'm prepared to step in, said Mr. Rapon, but I prefer to see you work things out for yourselves. I'll leave you all to discuss it. Francine pointed a finger at the others. You ruined my show, she said accusingly, and you're supposed to be my friend. It's not your show, Francine, Arthur pointed out. We worked hard, too. The show belongs to all of us, and let's not forget, you're supposed to be our friend, too. Do you think you've been acting like one? Francine started to say something, but the words got stuck in her throat. We are waiting, said the brain. Francine stared at him. This was my big chance. After all these horrible experiences, I just wanted everything to be perfect. Too perfect, said Murphy. Well, I guess I might have gone a little overboard. A little? Said Binky. Francine looked around. No one was cracking even a small smile. Okay, so I'm responsible. I'm dirt. I'm pond, scum. I am. Don't overdo it, said Arthur. Sorry, said Francine, but we can still do a good show together, can't we? At least we can. If anybody will work with me, how are we doing? Mr. Rapon called out from the stage. All the kids cheered. That answers my question, he said with a smile. That night, the performance went perfectly, with everyone playing their roles the way they were written. As the cast came out for the curtain call, Francine stepped forward. It took all of us to make this play together. I couldn't have done it alone. Arthur and the others smiled, but they couldn't have done it without me either. she added. Then she led the cat in a last blow. As applause filled the air. The end.